What's up, guys? I got a request for like a video topic, so I'll kind of discuss it. The question was, which do you think kind of matters more? Do carbs matter more or protein matter more? Um, when it comes to building muscle and it comes to putting on size and strength, I think that carbs, simply put, matter a bit more than protein does. I think that there's like a lot of kind of marketing hype with protein, but that um, that's kind of it, that it's like a lot of hype, but in terms of what's more effective, carbs are more effective. You do need both, but the analogy that I heard that kind of put it the best is that carbs are like the building blocks and are kind of like the bricks, and protein is like the cement that puts those bricks together. So protein, if you imagine it, it like kind of meshes together the carbs, but the carbs is what's putting the size on you. um, if you get a lot of protein, your muscles will be healed up, but you're not gonna put on the sheer like raw size that carbs are gonna put on you. And I know that especially this is especially true for guys that are skinnier and have that body type, like the ectomorph body type. Um, Carbs will do something where they'll kind of spike your insulin. They'll cause you to kind of blow up, put on a lot of size. After you work out, your metabolism will be kind of faster. So a lot of that, depending on your body type, but um, a lot of that will go to replenish glycogen stores that have been exhausted while you were working out, and it'll lead to your muscles kind of growing and more of that energy and nutrition from the carbs going to like your muscles rather than to your body fat. um, I can speak from personal experience that like it's always been the carbs that have blown me up, and especially for skinny guys, like if you get a lot of protein, that can at times be bad, because if you get a lot of protein, that fills you up and then you can't eat as much carbs. uh, Protein is a very high thermic value. It makes you full very easily. It like kind of has like a high satiety, if that makes sense. Like it'll make you feel very full very quickly. And if you get too much of your food from protein, then that's a problem because you're not getting enough from carbs. So if I had to err on one side, I'd err on getting more carbs, less protein, versus getting more protein and less carbs. Uh, Simply put, the carbs are going to put the size on you. Um, so that's kind of my thoughts on that topic. There is more I could kind of say about it though. The best time to get carbs are like in between your, or like around your workout. So like if you're gonna go train, like if you're gonna go lift at a certain time, let's say you're gonna go lift at like noon, then before you go and after you go would be the best time to get your carbs. Before you go, you get your carbs so that you have energy and that you can kind of really fuel yourself when you train at the gym, and have something to train off of. And then after, the purpose would be so that you can replenish your glycogen stores and that you can kind of get a good meal in after you train. And they say like you kind of shuttle in nutrition to your muscles at that point, and that's like the best time to get it, because if you do it kind of later on, maybe your metabolism will be like a little bit slower, but like right after your workout, like a lot of that food that you eat is just gonna go to your muscles. That's kind of sort of a bro science thing, but then at the same time, that's a good time to kind of get your extra carbs, extra nutrition in, is like right after that workout. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the difference between getting carbs and getting protein. Um, Protein, you need some, but you don't need a ton, and if you have excess protein, more than you need, all that happens is that your body kind of gets rid of it as waste. It just kind of pisses it out or shits it out, and that's it. So um, yeah, there's not like a ton of purpose or point to getting like a lot of protein. um, there's a lot of marketing behind protein, but as far as like what's most important or most effective, I'd say carbs are more important than protein. And especially if you're a skinnier guy or you're one of the leaner body types, like carbs will take you a long way. Protein won't necessarily. Another thing too is that if you're like a strength athlete, you're a power lifter, or you're more used to doing like legs or back or something, um, carbs will go a long way to help you. It's hard to do those workouts if you don't have carbs going in. If you're doing it like purely ketogenic, where you're only eating fats and you're not doing carbs at all, that will be really hard on your body. Um, if you have carbs to go beforehand to kind of feel your workout, that takes it a long way, and that allows you to train with a certain intensity that you can't if you like don't have that just going in. Um, and again, protein doesn't really help for that much. So if you get like a ton of protein before a workout, you're just gonna feel full and you're not gonna feel a lot of energy. You're not gonna have something like to burn the same that you can if you have a lot of carbs. Um, if you think about it, you can carb up. You know, you can get like a lot of carbs, but you can't do that with protein the same. You can't just like, oh, like I had like 3 pounds of chicken the last week. You're a lot like the other day. You're not gonna say that. You know, it's gonna be too much food. Versus carbs, you can get a ton of pizza. You can get a ton of what else? Like a ton of pasta, a ton of rice. Um, you can carb up, quote unquote, and get a lot of energy, and then you can use that energy to go and fill your workouts. Um, that's something that protein doesn't offer. Um, and I think also protein doesn't just put on raw size on you. Carbs does. Protein just kind of helps your muscles heal. So like I've seen that if I'm getting a lot of carbs but I'm not getting enough protein, my muscles will look kind of flat like a little bit, but then they'll still be big from the carbs. If I'm getting a lot of protein but I'm not getting carbs, I'll look small. Like just period, you know? Whereas if I'm getting a lot of carbs but not enough protein, I'll still look big, my muscles will still look full, but they'll look a little flat and they'll look a little fuller if I'm getting protein. And it goes back to that analogy that carbs are the building blocks, carbs are the bricks, and protein is what's meshing it together. Protein is kind of like what's just like laid in between the different bricks, you know, and it's holding it together. But the carbs are really what put the size on you. Um, yeah, is there anything else I could say? So like one or two other things is that protein is really marketed, but a lot of that is just marketing and hype. Um, I know that like they kind of sell mass gainer shakes, and all that is kind of a waste of money because they just put a lot of protein in those, a lot of sugar, and a good amount of carbs, but it's not anything that you can't just get from a meal. That and there's no real reason that you uh, need to get like a mass gainer shake like that. That's it's not providing anything that you just can't get from food, and and it's not necessarily even a ton of food that you would need to get that kind of nutrition. Um, I don't recommend supplements usually, and I don't recommend mass gainer protein because it's a lot of calories. A lot of it will go to fat. There's a good amount of sugar, and it's processed. And and you're much better if you just get like rice and like steak or rice and some like chicken breast or something, and you're better off doing that, and you'll go a lot further doing that than if you uh, take a protein shake and you're like religious about getting those protein shakes in or getting those mass gainer shakes in. They won't do that much for you necessarily. Guys will always ask, that's like one of the first questions they ask when they get in the gym is like, oh, should I do protein? Do I need to do protein? And the answer to that is like only if you're not doing enough protein at home from meat, from chicken, from fish, from eggs, you know. But from like a lot of these primary like animal sources, you do animal sources over other sources of protein over plant sources because animal is the most readily bioavailable. Your body will kind of go to that source first and will prefer that source first over plant-based, and and that it kind of works the best. So not all protein is created equally necessarily, and the highest quality protein that you can get is from I'd say like steak, maybe steak, salmon, chicken, and like a couple of these meats, you know. If you can get lean organic, that's good. um, and then just the other thing is that you really don't need that much protein. You only need a certain amount. I think they say like a pound per or 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, but I've even heard like 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, and I think that's like fair. I've even heard a 1 pound of or 1 gram of protein per like 0.7 kilogram of body weight. Um, so I've heard different things, and I've played with all of this, and I can honestly say that like doing more protein never really helped that much, and the amount you need is really not that much. I'd say more focus on uh kind of first to get like the total amount of calories that you want to hit in your day, but then after that like getting more carbs versus protein, because carbs, to the point that it's not putting fat on you, carbs will really help build your muscle up, especially if they're leaner carbs like rice or pasta or something. um, so that's kind of just my thoughts on the topic and the debate versus carbs and protein. I think both work, but carbs are the bricks. If you take nothing else away from this video, it's that carbs are like the bricks, protein is like the cement. You know, the bricks are all in place, and then you just kind of cement it. But what's holding it together is maybe the cement, but like the bricks are kind of more important, because without the bricks, you just have a pool of cement. Whereas you can have the bricks all there, and then maybe they're lightly cemented, but then that's still pretty good. But if you just have cement and you have no bricks at all, then that's kind of dumb, and you don't have anything at all. And that's been my experience, is that if I'm getting a ton of carbs, and I'm maybe a little low on protein, I still look good and I still look fine. Maybe my muscles look a tiny bit flat, but I can still do everything. And I have energy, and I'm strong in the gym, and that's it. And I have big muscles, and that's it. And if I have the opposite, where I'm getting a lot of protein and I'm not getting much carbs, then then I'll look really small, and I'll have no energy, and like it won't matter that I just had like a huge steak. Like I'll feel weak and I'll feel hungry, and I won't really be able to do much until I get carbs in, until I get some rice in. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the topic. Let me know what has worked for you guys and what your personal experience has been, and I'll talk to you guys next time.